What's going on, YouTube? Coming back with my way too early power rankings for the 2016 NFL season. So, obviously, the Super Bowl just ended yesterday. Broncos beating the Panthers 24-10, and really, it's about that time to start reminiscing, looking forward onto next year. So, for me personally, the Super Bowl could have been more exciting. I don't think it was. I'm a guy that likes offense. Offense wins out for me. I like seeing I don't like seeing ugly defense, that's for sure. I still like seeing respectable defense, but for me, offense, if it converts, then it's even if it's a close game, it's a respectable game for me. Anyway, obviously I'm not going to be keeping any sort of exact method for coming up with my way too early power rankings. I went off a couple different lists. There's Bleacher Report, ESPN just did one, Fox Sports as well, and if you haven't seen any way too early power rankings yet, this is your first time looking at them. I'll post probably one of them in the link in the description below. But as a whole, really all you have to do is Google way too early power rankings for the 2016 for the NFL. So go ahead and start with my number one, and I've got a team that was not in the Super Bowl, and that's New England Patriots. So obviously the New England Patriots were very, very close to making the Super Bowl this past year, but 2 points away, and I think if they had had the game at home, it would have been a little bit different. But like I said, it is what it is. I'm not a big Patriots fan as a whole, just so you guys know that. But it's another year with Tom Brady back. He turns 39, so not really showing too much signs of aging, but they don't really have anyone that they're losing. There are a few running backs, but that's about it. And New England's got a lot to build off of for sure. As long as everyone's able to stay healthy on the offensive line, Gronk's able to stay healthy. There's Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, they're able to stay healthy, and the defense is able to do their job. Then I think the Patriots are the best team in the NFL heading into next year. All right, so we move on to my number two, and I've got the team that just lost the Super Bowl, the Carolina Panthers. So I think it's going to be one of the more interesting things for me to see next year, one of the bigger headlines, to see if the Panthers can actually stay consistent. It was a big breakthrough for the Panthers this year coming into the year. Obviously they definitely were hyped to do what they did, and kind of got ran off the field in the Super Bowl yesterday in terms of pass rush. Von Miller just absolutely had a field day against Cam Newton. Oh, sorry about that. But they do get Kelvin Benjamin back, so that's another receiving threat. They have pretty much everyone coming back, as far as I know. Josh Norman's probably going to need a little bit more money. That's for sure. They might lose a couple players, but like I said, not really anything big. As long as the running game's able to maintain its consistency, Jonathan Stewart's able to have another solid year, and Cam Newton doesn't completely flop next year, then I think the Panthers should be another force to be reckoned with. So number three, I've got a team that a lot of people have between 5 and 10 in their power rankings after last night, and I don't really understand why, and that's the Denver Broncos. So to me, there's going to be a few changes in the Denver Broncos. Obviously, most notably, probably going to be losing Peyton Manning. Now, as a whole this year, he wasn't that important to him as the season went along. Obviously, you want to say he was the reason why they won the Super Bowl yesterday, but he wasn't. If you watch the game, then it was Denver's defense that just absolutely went off. And yeah, it's good to see Peyton Manning walk off the field with a Super Bowl victory, but it's at that stage in his career where he's regressing so mightily. And I think I made a video yesterday about top 10 reasons why I think Peyton Manning should retire, but that's beside the point. The Denver Broncos returned what was the best defense in the NFL this year. Now, they return quite a bit on defense. Guys like Chris Harris, Danny Trevathan, obviously Von Miller. I won't say Von Miller emerged because he was already a star before this year, but obviously his star shining even brighter now. They're probably going to lose Malik Jackson. That's been heavily talked about since the end of yesterday. But they really pretty much retain everything on offense as far as I know. C.J. Anderson should be coming back. And then it'll be also interesting to see what they do with their first-round pick. All right, so move on to number 4, and I've got the Seattle Seahawks. So by the way, I'm not going to be explaining too much into every team because that'd be a very, very long video. But For me, the Seattle Seahawks are coming back with quite a bit. Marshawn Lynch actually just announced his retirement, which was a little bit of a surprise to me, but Thomas Rawls is coming back, so they have a solid running back in the backfield. Russell Wilson coming back, 27-year-old quarterback, so probably just coming into his own. Now, they might be losing a little bit on defense. Cam Chancellor might be traded. There's been trade talks with him, and I'm not sure what they're going to do with Jimmy Graham. But nonetheless, I think the same good Seattle defense will be coming back next year, and a team that will be a force to be reckoned with again next year. Move on to my number 5, and I've got the team led by Aaron Rodgers, and that is the Green Bay Packers. So the Green Bay Packers went 10-6 this year, able to get themselves a berth in the divisional round, and ended up getting beat by the Arizona Cardinals. So for me, as long as you got Aaron Rodgers back there, you'll be fine. I think that with the combination of Jordy Nelson coming back, hopefully Eddie Lacy getting better, those two things alone, and as long as the defense is able to maintain some type of consistency, I think the Packers are on the bottom end of the top 5 teams in the NFL. Alright, so move on to number 6, and we've got the Arizona Cardinals. So the Arizona Cardinals have a very deep roster coming back next year. As long as Carson Palmer is able to stay healthy, they'll probably do very, very well in the regular season. Obviously, for Carson Palmer, it's just a matter of being successful in the playoffs. They have a little bit of an age issue. Obviously, Larry Fitzgerald's not getting any younger. Calais Campbell, one of their biggest defensive stars, is turning 30. But Tyrann Mathieu gets another year of experience in the NFL, one of the better safeties in the NFL, if not one of the best right now. And like I said, I think the Cardinals will be just fine in the regular season as long as Carson Palmer is able to stay healthy and the defense steps up the way they did this past year. Alright, so move on to number 7, and I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team that a lot of people have talked about as being a sleeper for next year. Le'Veon Bell, if he can stay healthy, that'll be a huge, huge addition. Senquez Golson hopefully should be improved next year, leading a better defense. Hopefully, getting back to the old Steeler ways, and obviously another year of Big Ben. Now, Pittsburgh Steelers were able to make the playoffs this year, lost in the divisional round, and again, I could see a similar situation happening next year. But like I said, this team is a big matter of health. All right, so move on to number 8, and this might be a little bit of a reach, but I've got faith in them, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. And as long as Adrian Peterson's able to stay consistent, I think Teddy Bridgewater can improve. I think they need another receiver. That's a big thing. I think that should be one of their biggest looks in the draft, one of their first looks. Defense should be improving, led by, in my opinion, their best player on defense, Harrison Smith. All right, so move on to number 9, and I've got my personal favorite team, the Indianapolis Colts. So the Indianapolis Colts are heading into another year with Andrew Luck. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. They were huge spenders in the offseason last year. Actually, at one point, were even the Super Bowl favorites after picking up Andre Johnson and Frank Gore. Not to say that either of them had a bad season, but Frank Gore played pretty well down the stretch. And Andre Johnson, well, I mean, he's getting older, and you can see it. The Colts return will still be one of the deepest receiving cores in the NFL. T.Y. Hilton should be just as good, if not better, with having Andrew Luck back for a full year. Not sure if they're going to be able to keep Dwayne Allen. I know he's a free agent, but I'm pretty sure they keep Kobe Fleener. They're able to retain both those. It's one of the better tight end duos in the NFL. Offensive line needs to get better. It's hard for it to get worse. They re-signed Trent Richardson, God knows why. And if the defense can improve, maybe Robert Mathis have one more good year in the NFL. You can see the Colts have another big year. Alright, so move on to number 10, and I've got the Kansas City Chiefs. Team that's one of the hottest teams down the stretch this year. Now, obviously, Alex Smith's he's been good for the Chiefs. They might return Jamal Charles. He's obviously had injury problems, and he's coming back for his 9th season. Seems weird that he's been in the league for that long, but Anyway, definitely getting older, injury prone, but he is still a very talented back. Now, Marcus Peters emerged as one of the biggest young stars in the NFL. They've still got a lot of talent on defense, and I think with Andy Reid at the helm, then the Chiefs will be just fine. Alright, so moving on to number 11, and this is probably the biggest stretch I have in my top 12 for the power rankings. That is the Baltimore Ravens. So, this team just got destroyed by injuries this year. Rashad Perriman should be back for this year. Joe Flacco was out for a lot of the year. If they can stay healthy, then I think they will be just fine. They will have a top 10 pick, and I think that's just not fair because they'll be able to pick up another solid piece to make hopefully what is a more of a vintage-looking Ravens defense. So move on to number 12. I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals actually have quite a few decisions to make this year in the offseason. They got to re-sign multiple players between Pac-Man Jones, Leon Hall, George Aloka, Reggie Nelson. If Andy Dalton can stay healthy, obviously that's going to be a big thing. A.J. Green having another solid year. They got a nice little duo in the backfield with Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard as well. All right, so move on to number 13, and I've got the Houston Texans. So I think it's very important for the Houston Texans to pick up a quarterback in the draft. Something that just makes that team connect a little bit better on offense. Not really sure what direction they're going to be going in on offense for a running back. Don't know if Arian Foster's the answer for long term. I mean, obviously he's getting older and injury prone. DeAndre Hopkins is kind of emerging as a star. Well, already did emerge as a superstar this year, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Obviously, you have maybe the best defensive player in the NFL, if not the best player in the NFL, and J.J. Watt coming back. And, like I said, I think the biggest problem for the Texans is just quarterback. I think it's going to be an improved AFC South. It's hard to be much worse than last year. Full season of Andrew Luck being healthy, it is still, in my opinion, the Colts division if he's healthy. You got another year of an improving team in the Jacksonville Jaguars if Blake Bortles can get even better than he was this past year. And Tennessee Titans with a full, healthy year building around Marcus Mariota and Dorial Green-Beckham, actually two guys that had a pretty solid year this past year when healthy. Alright, so move on to number 14. And I got the Dallas Cowboys. So obviously it was a rough season for the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Romo obviously was injured for a large bit of the year. And I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do to maybe put a little bit of insurance policy behind him. I know Johnny Manziel has been talked of as going to the Cowboys. That's beside the point, though. Now, I don't know about the defense. Defense obviously struggled big time this year. Offensive line is still one of the best in the NFL, that's for sure. I don't know. There are a few question marks headed into 2015 for the 2016, for the Cowboys. But they are still one of the most talented teams in the NFC East. So move on to number 15, and I've got the New York Jets. So the New York Jets, I think really the only answer they have to find the solution to is at quarterback. I'm not sure if Ryan Fitzpatrick is obviously I'm not sure if he's the long-term answer. He had a pretty good year this year, but that's because he was throwing what was behind a very good offensive line. Chris Ivory might be lost this year. They have a few cap decisions to make, but it is a very talented defense. The team that went 10-6 this year just barely missed the playoffs. And again, what is a very talented team come back next year could be very good. So move on to number 16, and I've got the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons do have quite a few good pieces in place. They've got a good defense coming up. They got Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, Devonta Freeman. Obviously, Devonta Freeman emerges as one of the better running backs in the NFL this year. Vic Beasley is emerging as a star on defense. And I think that the Falcons can be a very good team next year. The NFC South will be a tough division next year, as Carolina, obviously one of the best teams in the NFL. Saints, I don't see them being any worse than this past year. I think they'll improve. I could see the Falcons improving. And then the Bucks also have a lot of young talent that should get better. So move on to number 17. Now I've got the Oakland Raiders. So I'm a big fan of the Oakland Raiders and what they've built around now. Derek Carr is very good. Khalil Mack's very good. Latavius Murray's very good. Amari Cooper's very good. They've got a lot of young talent. Now, they've also got to re-sign a lot of their young talent, and that could lead to salary cap problems. They're also competing in what is a pretty tough division between two very good teams, including the Kansas City Chiefs and Denver Broncos. So it is going to be hard to improve the record in such a tough division, but I believe that the Oakland Raiders have the young talent to do it. So move on to number 18. I got the Philadelphia Eagles. So I might have a little bit more faith in the Philadelphia Eagles than most people do. DeMarco Murray said he's been having trouble with just the overall team, and obviously that signing didn't work out great this year. I don't think Sam Bradford's the direction, or I don't think that Sam Bradford is the quarterback long term for the Eagles. But also still think there's a little bit of talent to build around on this team. DeMarco Murray is still a very good running back. Jordan Matthews is a very good wide receiver. Zach Ertz, I think, is a very good tight end. And like I said, I think a fresh start for the Eagles is something that's been vastly needed in Philadelphia. I think that things got very, 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 very screwed up under Chip Kelly. Seemed like it might work at first, really didn't work long term. Had to start through the Michael Vick era, then go through Nick Foles, and then obviously most recently through Sam Bradford. So move on to number 19, and I've got a team that most people will probably think I have a little bit underrated, and that's the Washington Redskins. Now, for me, there's more than just a few questions about the Washington Redskins heading into this following year. Kirk Cousins is going to be getting a much bigger contract, that's for sure. He was good this year, I'll give him that, but he's never been a guy that's been very consistent in his career. It's hard for me to see the NFC East being much worse also. Tony Romo will probably be healthy next year. I think the Eagles will be a little bit improved, should be more consistent. And, I mean, the Giants do have some talent on that team. So, for me, I have the Redskins a little bit lower. I think it's going to be hard to replicate another year like what happened this year. But like I said, we'll see. 19's not terribly low, and I still think that they got some talent to build around. So move on to number 20, and I've got the New Orleans Saints. So, again, I think the Saints will be an improved team. It's hard for the defense to get much worse. Now, they might be losing a lot this year. I think it is about time to start looking in a new direction on offense. I think Mark Ingram is obviously a good guy to be building around. He had a very solid year, first running back. I've seen with the Saints to have a good year, and it's been a while. Sorry about the camera shakiness, trying to find an angle with less glare. There we go. But they might be losing Marcus Colston, who's been a rock there at receiver for quite a while now, almost 10 years. Could be losing C.J. Spiller, who added some good depth at running back. Jarvis Byrd has been a very solid safety as well. Now, Drew Brees, I think, will have another Drew Brees-esque year, and as long as you got a quarterback like that, you can't count a team out. So move on to number 21, and I've got the Miami Dolphins. Again, another team that I've got higher than most people probably will. Ryan Tannehill had an inconsistent 2015. He was hyped up very, very largely this year. It was a rough season for the Dolphins as a whole. They're very, very up and down. And Ndamukong Suh ended up being somewhat of a bust this year. They might try to restructure his contract. Lamar Miller, who was expected to improve drastically this year, had a very, very up and down year. Jarvis Landry was a bright spot for the Dolphins, but overall the Dolphins are in a division with a lot of talent and not a whole lot of direction. So, like I said, we'll see what happens, but you're also still playing in a division with the New England Patriots, like I said, a very talented New York Jets team and a Buffalo Bills team that you can't count out either. And that moves me into my number 22 ranking. I've got the Buffalo Bills. So the Bills are a talented team. They have very, very talented defense. Tyrod Taylor actually was pretty good this year. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to change about the team as well, though. They might be losing Cordy Glenn and Richie Incognito, two of the best offensive linemen they have. Mario Williams will probably be gone as well. Like I said, and it is a tough division that will probably be this. I could see being a mirror image of this past year, and that's why I have the Bills where they are. So move on to number 23. I got the New York Giants, and I explained this a little bit earlier. They were very, very bad on defense this past year. Now, they probably will be losing Prince Amukamara and Jason Pierre-Paul, who are really the only consistent pieces of that defense this past year. But you do have Eli Manning and Odell Beckham coming back. I think that the Giants need to find a running back to plan around long term. I don't think that I obviously don't think Rashad Jennings is the answer there. But like I said, the Giants to me are, I believe they're not my lowest ranked, second lowest ranked team in the NFC East. I think it'll be an interesting year next year in the NFC East, and I'm honestly very intrigued to see what happens. So move on to my number 24, another team that I have higher than a lot of people do, and I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I've got a lot of faith in the Buccaneers this upcoming year. I think that they've got a lot of options. I think that they've got a lot of talent to build around as well. Jameis Winston had a pretty good year, and actually a very good year, I believe. I don't know if he won Rookie of the Year this year. I don't think he did, but he posted a very good QBR this year. Returns a lot of talent. Mike Evans, Doug Martin. Probably returning Doug Martin. I'm not 100% sure on that. Vincent Jackson might leave as well. But like I said, a team that can build around Levante David on defense, and I think the team that, like I said, will be very good heading into the future. So move on to number 25, and I've got the Chicago Bears. So the Bears got a little bit better in 2015. Jay Cutler had actually a decent year. I think Kevin White will be coming back as well. It'll be interesting for me to see what direction they go in with running back, because Jeremy Langford emerged this year, but Matt Forte is still a very good running back. It's going to be one of the more interesting things to see. The Bears have a lot more depth on offense than most people think. I think that offensive line's got to improve even more. Defense has to improve a little bit as well. I think that they need to find they need to find a person to build around on defense. Alshon Jeffrey will probably be locked up as well. All right, so move on to number 26, and I got the San Diego Chargers. So, Chargers actually have quite a bit of talent to build around, I think. Now, Manti Te'o is a very good guy to build around on defense, in my opinion. They actually weren't bad at corner this year. I think Eric Weddle will be back next year. Maybe a healthy year for him will help. Phillip Rivers is obviously a very good quarterback. Melvin Gordon, if he can improve, that'll help out as well. Now, I'm not sure if Antonio Gates will be back, but he's getting up there in age as well. Like I said, it's going to be a tough year for the San Diego Chargers. I think they are the overall worst team in the AFC West right now. It's a very tough division with an improving Raiders team and a Chiefs and Broncos team that are both very good. So move on to number 27. I got the team moving to LA. I've got the Rams. So I think, hold on one second. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Rams this year with quarterback situation. Now, they have a lot of players that they will be having to lock up this year. And that starts with Janoris Jenkins, Jermaine Johnson, Mark Barron. Now, they will have Todd Gurley, I believe he was the NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, coming back. And obviously, he was fantastic for a stretch of the 2015 season. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if Case Keenum's the long-term answer for quarterback, and I think that they should really start shopping around. I mentioned that Johnny Manziel, I think, would be a good fit in LA. I think that RG3 might also be a decent fit in LA as well. I think it's a team that should be trying things out and finding a quarterback to build around on that offense. I mean, obviously, you want to give Case Keenum a chance. He actually played pretty well this year, and yeah, interested to see what happens with the team moving to LA. So, move on to number 28, and I've got the Detroit Lions. So, obviously, Calvin Johnson's retirement will hurt them immensely. I think Matthew Stafford will take. I like Matthew Stafford, but I think that they're going to take a big step back. The Lions actually played very well down the stretch, finishing 6-2 over their final 8 games, though. It's just kind of a shit show for the Lions team right now. I don't think they know what direction to go around. I mean, obviously they, for a while, were building around Calvin Johnson, and for a while maybe Ndamukong Suh, but he was a problem. They got rid of him, so I don't know. I just see it being a very rough year in Detroit this upcoming year. So move on to number 29, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think that this could finally be the time that the Jaguars finally break through. They've got so much young talent to build around. And that starts with T.J. Yeldon in the backfield. That goes to Blake Bortles at quarterback, Allen Robinson at wide receiver, Allen Hurns at wide receiver. Still have Julius Thomas at tight end. Dante Fowler coming back next year. And they have another top 5 pick, who I think they should use on Vernon Hargreaves. I think that'd be a very, very good defense long term. Like I said, I think that this is a team that can be very, very, very improved next year and can be a very good team heading into the future. A lot of people forget that the Jaguars about 8-9 years ago were actually a team year in and year out that were competing for the AFC South. So move on to number 30, and I've got the Tennessee Titans. So I believe this is another year that is going to be improved. It's hard to do worse, if I'm honest. Like, Dorial Green-Beckham, I think, is a player that will be very good in the NFL. I hope he doesn't turn out to be another Kenny Britt. That was obviously the risk with the Titans taking him. But Mariota, obviously, is a very good quarterback to build around. I think they need to find a running game. That's very important. Antonio Andrews and Bishop Sankey, I do not think are the long-term answers there. So move on to number 31, I got the San Francisco 49ers. I think that the 49ers, a lot like the Lions, are very lost. I don't know if Colin Kaepernick's going to be back. I wouldn't say he wants to be. He had a lot more talent, or Chip Kelly obviously taking over as head coach, he had a lot more talent to work with in Philadelphia than he does now in San Francisco. And you still do have a few pieces in place with this team. You got Vernon Davis, who has regressed a little bit, just getting older. You've got a talented running back in Carlos Hyde that you should be able to build around. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if Colin Kaepernick's going to be back. If not, you do have, like the 2nd or 4th overall pick, one of those two. And, I mean, if you don't want to build around Colin Kaepernick, then you can take a guy like Carson Wentz or Jared Goff in the draft and build around them. I think the 49ers are a team that's been underrated for developing quarterbacks. Obviously, Alex Smith ended up coming through a little bit later in his career. Colin Kaepernick, it's been a downhill slope, but still has had a relatively successful career. So move on to my number 32, and I've got the poor Cleveland Browns right here. So the Cleveland Browns have, actually, I believe this is the team that has the 2nd overall pick. So obviously, they're probably going to go with a quarterback, and I hate to say it, probably going to ruin another quarterback's career. I think if I'm the Browns, I'm taking Carson Wentz. I think, for me, just in my mind, that's the only quarterback that connects with that team that I think would have a chance of succeeding there. This has been a team that's killed so many quarterbacks' careers, Johnny Manziel being the latest. I'm sorry if you're a Browns fan, but this is kind of true. And it's just, I don't know what to build around. Josh Gordon might be returning. And I don't know. And like I said, I just don't know for the Cleveland Browns. Like, I don't know what they have at running back. I mean, they got Terrence West, Isaiah Crowell, and Duke Johnson, so there is talent there. Now, they did lose a little bit on defense when they lost T.J. Ward. They still have Joe Hayden. I think they'll be all right on defense. But like I said, I have not run into a rankings yet that have their Browns ranked higher than 31. And I think it's going to be another, if I'm honest, I think it's going to be another rough year in Cleveland. So that concludes my way too early power rankings. So a very long video, longer than I was hoping for, but nonetheless, one that I wanted to get done, and I'm happy that I did. Whatever team you feel like will be a sleeper next year, you think will be good or bad, or you had overrated, or that I had overrated or underrated, or any analysis that I missed, anything, put that in the comments below. But yeah, that's pretty much it. See ya. Hey, what's going on YouTube? So today I wanted to come back with my overall big board top 100. So this will be